National Pirate Day.
Arr.
You got hype. Yeah, are you down on National Pirate Day? You for it, Mac?
Sounds great. Yeah,
All right.
I'm in. I'm in.
All right. I believe you. Calm down. We got it's a weird news day. A lot of the stuff that I seemingly want to cover just feels like it's full of accusations. And I don't know. I want you to weigh in on it. Let me know what you think about these accusations at 615-737-9986, whether you want to text in or call in. I'd love to kind of talk about, what your initial reaction is on some of these accusations. Like Russell Brand, for instance. Russell Brand, he is being accused of sexual assault. All these allegations are coming out. Breitbart's reporting that Brand has denied these allegations made by 4 women in a Channel 4 television documentary and the Times and Sunday Times newspapers. The accusers, who have not been named, include one woman who says she was sexually assaulted during a relationship with him when she was 16. Another woman says Brand raped her in Los Angeles in 2012. Brand, 48, has rejected all the claims, saying in a video statement that his relationships were always consensual. Now, the Times said Monday that more women had contacted the newspaper with allegations against Brand and that they should be rigorously checked. Seems a little weird when these allegations come out and they have the documentary ready to go. Put the documentary right on TV as soon as the allegations surface. Seems a little weird that Russell Brand lived through the entire Me Too era and none of these allegations ever got brought up during that era where allegations were getting thrown around like candy. It just, everybody was, claiming people were assaulting everyone. And it seems a little weird that a guy that speaks out against the war in Ukraine and Big Pharma has these allegations levied against him. And it seems to just keep piling on for Russell Brand. He's had his YouTube videos be demonetized, meaning he's not going to be able to make any money off of his YouTube show. The site has suspended his ability to monetize his presence Tuesday with immediate effect. So he's losing money immediately. And remaining dates on his Russell Brand comedy tour have been postponed also. So he's losing money. And I thought we did innocent until proven guilty. And even in London, England, England where a lot of these accusations are coming from, they do have innocent until proven guilty. It was part of the Human Rights Act in 1998. So, I mean, even over there in jolly old London, it is innocent until proven guilty. But it seems like Russell Brand is just the latest victim of thinking the wrong things and being accused of terrible things in return. Now, I will say Russell Brand does have some suspicious ties to some interesting characters, like Jimmy Savile. Have you heard of Jimmy Savile? Do you know who this guy is?
No.
So he was a English DJ and television and radio personality who hosted BBC shows, including Top of the Pops and Jim Will Fix It. I mean, he was a fixture in England TV, and allegedly, it emerged in late 2012 that Jimmy Savile, who had died the year earlier, sexually abused hundreds of people throughout most of his life, and most of them children.
Wow.
Then there's allegations that Russell Brand said jokingly that he would bring an assistant to Jimmy Savile naked. So, my initial reaction was Russell's just getting targeted because he's wrong thinking. And then when I hear the ties to Jimmy Savile, I'm like, ooh, better vet this one out.
That's not the person you want to be connected to. That's for sure. That sounds terrible.
No. So we'll see what happens.
We've got a text saying Russell Brand will be on Louder with Crowder this morning. That's a news podcast, I guess. So he's going on a podcast, I guess, to address these allegations. Another texter says that these allegations have existed for a while. I haven't seen that on the internet or anything, but yeah.
It's interesting. You say the wrong thing, you think the wrong thing, and these things come out. I think it's more telling that even if these allegations are true, that he was protected for so long. You know, and then we see Lauren Boebert, who was, getting down with it at Beetlejuice the Musical. Of all the places. Beetlejuice the Musical. So I don't know if you've seen the video. Have you seen the video?
Yes.
For research purposes?
Yeah, for the show.
Lauren Boebert's there with her boyfriend, and this guy, Quinn Gallagher, is seen rubbing her breasts, and she is seen tugging at his pantaloons in the theater in Denver. So now she's getting drugged through the mud. Are you surprised that Lauren Boebert had this kind of behavior? I'm not.
She was also seen vaping, I think, in that same show.
Heavens.
Well, I mean, of course, no, not heavens, but blowing smoke up in the crowd. I mean, there's people sitting behind you, you know.
I don't know. I don't really care about that stuff.
No, that's fair. It's just it's just still obviously against the rules.
Trashy.
Yes. Yeah. It's just
trashy behavior.
On the same line. Yeah, exactly.
But when you look at Lauren Boebert, even before these accusations, did you think that she might be like the classiest person in the world, or like she might have like a little hint of it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you kind of get you can kind of see that stuff coming. Does it affect how I'm going to vote for her? No. I mean, or if I could vote for her? No, it wouldn't change my mind. I think you vote policy over person. At least that's what the Democrats do. I mean, Fetterman's in office. But I think the most important lessons to take away from Russell Brand and Lauren Boebert is that recognizing what gets released to the public and when. If these accusations from Russell Brand are true and authentic and real, well, why wasn't he allowed to be accused when he was married to Katy Perry back in the day, when he was still a darling of left-wing media? Maybe they were protecting him. You know, Lauren Boebert, this video camera, this grainy footage from the theater is released literally, days after the incident. But when you look at what's being released and what's not released, I think that's the big story. Does Epstein's client list get released? No. What about the Covington Manifesto? Does that get released? No. The identity of the January 6th pipe bomber. Are we ever going to find out who was laying pipe bombs down in Washington, D.C. the night before January 6th? Probably not. What about Ray Epps? Are we ever going to learn about him? No, that's not happening. And the contents of Hunter's laptop, that only came down the road, finding out what that is. They lied and said that wasn't real. So I think that's the most important lesson you need to take away from the Boebert video, recognizing what gets released and when to the American public, and what gets shouted down and quieted, and what gets amplified by left-wing media. You're going to see a lot about Lauren Boebert and Russell Brand in the coming days, I'm sure. Russell Brand especially, as it seems like more accusations are going to be coming out. But I just think it's important to think, okay, why am I seeing this instead of something else that could be more important? Anthony texted in, who brought coke into the White House?
Yep. Yeah. That's another one.
You're not gonna learn about that. You're not. Then you look at in Russell Brand's case, you see accusations levied against him for wrongthink, and I immediately go to like guys like Julian Assange, who has been basically imprisoned over the fact that women accused him of something he didn't do. The women walk back their story, and he's still ostracized because of wrongthink. But I want to know what you think about this. 615-737-9986. Phone lines are open. 5284 says, Lauren is a hypocrite. I saw the video. She vaped around a pregnant woman. Touching in a public where 10-year-olds are in attendance. Meanwhile, she fought against kids at drag shows due to its sexual nature. She is just as bad as those drag queens and groomers. I don't think that's close at all. I don't.
Oh, really? Okay.
fooling around with a boyfriend. If she wasn't a congressperson, would that be newsworthy? You know what I mean? Would anybody care if she wasn't? But it's big news because she looks trashy and it makes the Republican Party look trashy. And I don't see her. It's trashy what she did. Totally trashy. But this is going to take dominance in the news cycle. And, there's lots of other things we could focus on. I'm seeing text now. 0633, Seth Rich. He was the guy that allegedly leaked the Bernie emails to WikiLeaks and was allegedly silenced over it. Who leaked the Supreme Court Roe v. Wade? You're never going to find out about that. Hillary's emails. No, you're not going to find out about that. I think it's important to see what is coming out and what's not. You know what I mean? Mac is in there giggling because he got an inappropriate text. I just see Mac just like shaking with laughter. 4755, completely inappropriate.
Oh, it was good. You got me. 4755. I distracted Chris. My bad.
8212 says, after the whole Johnny Depp Heard poop show, I'll wait on Brand. What about the Epstein list? Yeah. Oh, Anthony said the Maxwell testimony. I mean, there's so much. We could go down the list of other things that the media should be focusing on and spending their energy on. But instead, we'll talk about Russell Brand accusations and Lauren Boebert in the news. And I'm guilty of it as well. This is one of those things where it's like it's a slow news day and there isn't a lot happening. So this Lauren Boebert story is, unfortunately, I don't really care. I just don't. It wouldn't be newsworthy if she was just a mom and a grandma from Colorado. It's a news story because she's in Congress. But we're not gonna be allowed to talk about, a lot of important things. That nothing important is going to get investigated. Again, Epstein client list, Seth Rich, Hillary's emails. What really happened with that F-35 jet? That's going to get swept under the rug. That's going to be swept under the rug before we know it. That's a crazy story. Do you think we're going to get any answers about that?
Gosh, you're right.
Do you think the mainstream media is going to ask about any of those? Any of those questions? Doubtful. But this is what we do. We get distracted by sensational stories. And I also find it funny that the Democrats will crap all over Lauren Boebert and call her trash. But then when a Democrat is running for state senate in Virginia, I forget the woman's name, but she posts publicly available videos of her and her husband doing sexual activities for money. That's strong and brave. That's an invasion of privacy for you calling her out for those videos. But Lauren Boebert is a trash person for doing what she did. The double standard is so real. The hypocrisy is so real with the left. And yeah, they're going to take Lauren Boebert and they're going to rake her through the coals for this one. Michael texted and he said the Lauren Boebert story is taking precedence because she's a congressman who acted like an idiot in public, then got snarky about it in her initial response. Then the video comes out and she's all contrite. I mean, I get where you're at. But is it really of any consequence? I don't care. If we were going after the Virginia Democrat, which we didn't really do on our show, because I also didn't honestly.
True.
I honestly didn't care. Like, I didn't think it was very newsworthy that somebody running for state senate in a different state had those videos pop up. Like, all right, she's a loser. Like, okay, moving on.
Cool. Yeah.
Like, and I feel the same way about Lauren Boebert. Like, oh, okay, she's trash. Moving on. There's a lot more important things that we could be focused on, but we'll just talk about Lauren Boebert getting groped in a movie theater. All right. 9:20 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Hey, make sure you're following me on Twitter, Instagram, Truth Social, at Chris Hand on air. Mac is on Twitter as well. What's your Twitter name, Mac?
Mac J. Morey 25.
All right, hit the follow button on Mac as well. Mac needs to get those numbers up.
Yeah, I need help, guys. Come on.
Help him out. Mac J. Maury 25, 920 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand from my friends at USS. Now, like you, I heard their commercials for years on Super Talk, and now that I'm working here, I got a chance to sit down with those guys and meet them. And you know what? They're exactly like the people you hear about in these commercials. Good, hardworking, honest guys, and they're proud of the work they do. Now, if you're noticing water in your crawl space, wet basement walls, cracks in your basement floors, call the good, honest, hardworking guys at USS like I did. It's one of those industries where you don't know you need it until you know you need it. And when I poked my head down in my crawl space, I found out the hard way that I needed it. And I'm going to come up with a plan for full encapsulation. They're going to make a custom plan for my house just like they'll do for your house. So if your crawl space is in need of some TLC, call the guys at USS 615-488-7855. With 25,000 satisfied customers, I'm confident you're going to be number 25,001. So call USS today, United Structural Systems, 615-488-7855, online at USSTN.com.
Got a big problem on I-24 north of Nashville. 24 eastbound is closed in Montgomery County between Rossview Road and MLK Parkway due to a vehicle fire. We still have an endangered child alert for a 1-year-old baby boy taken from Nashville. We know when the House is going to hold its first Biden impeachment inquiry hearing, and negotiations continue between the United Auto Workers and the big three automakers. The workers issuing a new deadline. These stories and more at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. I'm looking up at the news on the TV in the studio right now, and I see Biden bumbling and fumbling through his speech. So we'll have audio from that and what it undoubtedly will be Gaff City coming up very soon here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We were talking about Russell Brand. I got a text from 2847 that said Russell Brand knew that these allegations were coming. That's why he made a hard right turn recently. Huh. It's a weird take.
Interesting. Okay.
Why would you make a hard right turn? Wouldn't you like veer into like the left?
Yeah.
Like become like non-binary, gender fluid or something like that? Is that why everybody talks about how brave you are and protects you? I mean, turning into hard right would just open you up for more criticism. Even if he did it, like innocent until proven guilty in my book. If he did it, screw him, first of all. Like,
obviously.
Yeah. But if these are allegations because of what he's been saying recently, like, if he had done all that stuff, why would he open himself up to criticism by going hard right?
Yeah, and create a bigger target.
Yeah. Personally, I believe that he went more right-leaning because he's sane. And that's what happens when you look at things like objectively, insanely. But if he did it, screw him. Just for the record, I don't think like, oh, he's a pedophile, but he's on our side.
Yeah.
He's a rapist, but he's on our side. I'm gonna defend him. Like, no, hard pass. So
no, of course, yeah. If you've got those morals, yeah. 4138 texts in. Chris, I'm on the road for 45 more minutes. I need to hear the Paw Patrol story before I reach my destination.
Oh, 4138 is a first-time texter.
Oh, first-time texter. You're right. I didn't include that.
All right. Well, let me give you the cliff notes of the Paw Patrol story before Robbie Starbuck checks in with us at 11:30. They have a new spinoff, Rubble and Friends, and they have a non-binary transgender character in the new Paw Patrol spinoff. So it's like what they do. Like they hook you in with like a decent show, and then as they get later on down the road, they flip it once parents are asleep at the wheel. Because you think, oh, like I know Paw Patrol. Like what would be wrong with a Rubble and Friends spinoff, which is like one of the dogs? Well, that's how they get you. They get you on the spinoff. They get you when you're asleep at the wheel. So cancel that Paw Patrol or don't do anything past season 5. Draw a line in the sand at season 5.
Golly.
It's so weird that you have to do that kind of stuff.
It's crazy.
Yeah, my 4-year-old loves Paw Patrol. I've watched it with him. It's not like the original Paw Patrol stuff isn't bad. It's just dogs saving people.
Yeah, I mean the little clips that I see, it looks like a cute, normal kid show.
You're a big fan?
Oh yeah, regular viewer, appointment viewing.
Appointment viewing. I mean, but Nickelodeon in general has a weird history of a lot of weird subliminal stuff. So Robbie's going to be joining us at 11:30. Robbie Starbuck to go down that rabbit hole together, hand in hand. But that's the Cliff Notes version for you. 4138. Right now, 9:30. Ken Weaver's got the news.
9:30 on the dot this Tuesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes, and that endangered child alert still in effect for a 1-year-old baby boy taken from Nashville. TBI thinks the baby was taken by his mother's ex-boyfriend who may be trying to get to Alabama. The baby identified as Liam Ismael Diego Cuib, last seen wearing a Mickey Mouse shirt and blue jeans. And if you know anything about his whereabouts or the case, you're asked to call 1-800-TBI-FIND. Fox News reports the House will hold the first Biden impeachment inquiry hearing next Thursday, but subpoenas could be issued as soon as this week for Hunter Biden and James Biden's bank records. And negotiations may be continuing between the United Auto Workers Union and the big three automakers, but according to the union's president, there's no real progress being made. It's prompted a threat from UAW President Shawn Fain that other auto plants could be looped into the strike if there's no movement by the end of this week. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I recently did a workshop talking about some of the missteps of the investing industry, some of the biggest mutual fund companies out there. You probably recognize these names: Fidelity, Vanguard, Raymond James, Edward Jones, actually using data and information from their own websites as I walk through this. Now, one of the things I was talking about is diversification and how investors could be in for a rude awakening at the amount of risk that they actually have in their portfolios, and they don't even realize it. Now, the example I like to use to help people understand why do these huge companies do this? I mean, these are big companies. And you go, well, why? Well, think about the diet industry. In the diet industry, you had things like this: fat-free this, fat-free that, fat-free that. And what happened is they did a study. They were looking at diabetes in children. And what they found was that when they went fat-free, they actually ended up with more diabetes rather than less, because what they substituted for fat was sugar. Now, what happens in the mutual fund industry, they tend to keep costs low by investing in very narrow areas of the market that are inexpensive to manage. So what happens is the investor ends up with more risk than they think that they've got. Now, why do they do that? Because you are actually attracted by low costs. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't use these big mutual fund companies. It just means that you have to be eyes wide open. As an investment firm, we help people sidestep these things because sometimes you have no choice. You have a 401k, you're dealing with these fund companies, and you can't go anywhere else. So what we do is we help you go around these landmines. To set up an initial 15-minute phone call, go to our website, paulwinkler.com, or you can just scan the QR code right here. We look forward to talking with you.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. UN General Assembly going on now. Joe Biden is speaking. The chyron underneath him says, world has lost ground on climate change. Oh, you could already tell it's going to be a banger of a speech. As we get audio rolling in, I will have some for you. I do have this, though. Joe's brain appears to already be freezing during his UN speech.
Simply put, the 21st century results are badly needed. They're needed to move us along.
Yep, move it along there, Pop. You just gotta read what's on the card, my man. You just gotta read what's on the card. Yeah, I mean, this is not shocking stuff that Joe Biden's having brain farts out there. But as we get more, we will share it with you. Karine Jean-Pierre was talking on MSNBC last night, and she's talking about the UN General Assembly and how important it is for America to see the work that Joe Biden's been doing. This is her last night.
But again, the world stage, as you just laid out, this is the UN General Assembly, incredibly important assembly that we see this week. And so the president's going to lay out exactly why it is important for Americans' leadership and how he's been doing that the last 2 years.
Oh, yeah. He's so important for American leadership. He's been doing it by opening those blank checks for Ukraine. Zelensky is scheduled to speak this morning. So he's going to, I don't know if he's going to actually have a speech or if he's just going to stand there with his hand out. I'm not sure. Could be either or. But, we have to keep funding the war in Ukraine, right? Karine Jean-Pierre also on MSNBC last night went into the fact that there's no evidence, nothing, connecting Joe Biden to Hunter Biden.
And let me just say, it is a no evidence impeachment inquiry. It is baseless. There's no evidence. Even Republicans in Congress have said there's no evidence. It doesn't exist. And so that's the thing that the American people need to also realize. There is nothing there.
There's nothing there. Even Republicans agree that there's nothing there. I mean, of course, the rhinos will agree with that. The Ken Bucks of the world. But, as far as evidence, there's a lot. There's a lot. There's all the email aliases. There's Hunter paying for Joe's expenses. There's millions flowing into Biden family bank accounts. There's former White House aides saying the FBI ignored Joe's role in Ukraine business dealings. There's video of Joe Biden bragging about firing the Ukrainian prosecutor. Hunter's statements about giving half of his income to his dad, the FBI FD 1023 form alleging recorded phone calls and texts between Biden and a Burisma executive, 2 whistleblower testimonies. We can go down the list. There is a lot of evidence. A lot. But, it's a nothing burger, right? There's no evidence. There's no evidence. Unreal. And now we're seeing a story which is very interesting. Something I didn't see coming. Hunter Biden is going to be suing the IRS. Yeah. You can't make this stuff up. The lawsuit was filed in federal court in Washington, D.C., and it centers on the IRS whistleblowers Gary Shapley and Joseph Ziegler. Hunter is asking for $1,000 per each disclosure of his tax information. So this is from the Daily Mail. The IRS whistleblowers who sparked Hunter Biden's lawsuit against the agency accused President Joe Biden's son of trying to turn people's attention away from legal issues with his latest maneuver. Hunter Biden's lawsuit targets IRS agents and whistleblowers Gary Shapley and Joseph Ziegler, charging when they went to Congress and the media about the alleged mishandling of Hunter's tax evasion by the Justice Department, that they disclosed information about the investigation and about Biden's taxes that the law says they should be kept confidential. Isn't that how whistleblowers work, right? Like you disclose stuff that would normally be confidential. Isn't that just like whistleblower in a nutshell? Is that just me?
That was my understanding.
That's what a whistleblower does, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, this suit against the IRS is just another frivolous smear by Biden family attorneys trying to turn people's attention away from Hunter's own legal problems and intimidate any current and future whistleblowers. That's what Gary Shapley's lawyer said in a statement. Neither the IRS, SSA, Gary Shapley, nor his attorneys have ever released any confidential taxpayer information except through whistleblower disclosures authorized by statute. Once Congress released the testimony, like every American citizen, he has a right to discuss the public information. Ziegler's lawyer, Dean Zerbe, said his client would continue to speak out about the Department of Justice providing special treatment to Hunter Biden and called the lawsuit an effort to distract from the ever-growing evidence that supports the testimony of the two IRS whistleblowers. And their testimony to Congress, as you know, they detailed the millions of dollars Hunter received from his work with Ukraine gas company Burisma and their concerns that Hunter was getting special treatment in his tax investigation. Where are those tax charges? Hunter was ready to plead guilty to those when he had a sweetheart plea deal. Now we get the gun charge because it's the only charge not tied to Joe Biden. Weird. Isn't that weird? Strange. But, again, cringy John Pierre will tell you that there's nothing there.
Let me just say it is a no evidence impeachment inquiry. It is baseless. There's no evidence. Even Republicans in Congress have said there's no evidence.
There's no evidence, guys. I have a running list of evidence, and it's numbered. Like, I think, what are we at? I got like right around 20 pieces of no evidence. That's what. It's
a lot of no evidence.
It's a big long list of no evidence.
A lot of nothing.
Yep. A big long list of no evidence. This is the crazy thing. It's just where we're at in the world.
Rick 5057 says, funny how they didn't worry about privacy when it came to disclosing Donald Trump's tax information.
Yeah. Nobody. Orange man bad, Rick. Orange man bad. So, that's all the defense you need, my friend. Orange man bad. Unbelievable. Oh, hey, we're getting more audio out of Joe Biden at the UN General Assembly. This is Biden incoherently mumbling as he reads remarks from the teleprompter. You ready for this? It's gonna be fun.
Now it doesn't involve our institutions.
What?
I don't even think he knows. Let's do it. Let's do it one more time in case you're keeping score at home. Mind you, it's only what 10:45 on the East Coast. Like, it's not like he's been trucking all day. It's still early. He's got his breakfast. He probably had his morning nap already.
Yeah.
Probably took a snooze on the flight over.
Now it doesn't involve our institutions and drive creative new partnerships. Let me be clear.
Let me be clear. Yes, please, sir. Please be clear. That's all any of us want.
Now it doesn't involve our institutions and drive creative new partnerships. Let me be clear. Certain principles of our international system are sacrosanct.
Oh. Thanks for clearing that up, boss. Wow. It's the resident in chief, y'all. Just doing resident in chief stuff.
No, it doesn't involve our institutions.
Oh, thank you, sir.
I know institutions.
I got institutions too. What was the first part though? Hold on.
No, it doesn't involve our institutions.
I don't do all the institutions.
It's rough.
Wait, what is that?
No, it doesn't involve our institutions and drive creative new partnerships. Let me be clear. Certain principles of our international system are sacrosanct.
All right. Thanks for clearing it up. So how much money are we giving to Ukraine? I don't know. I feel like that's like what we're waiting for.
He was clear.
Yeah.
9506 JT says the poor interpreter.
Jeez. I mean, what is happening in the world? So Joe Biden can't speak. And then we're also learning that John Fetterman can wear whatever he wants to Congress now. That's pretty dope.
Nice.
I would like a Senate Republican to just wear the QAnon shaman outfit into the Senate the first day with the new dress code.
Like, what? What? You took away the dress code.
Right? Like, what? I thought this was based. I'm sorry. Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted out, she said, the Senate no longer enforcing a dress code for senators to appease Fetterman is disgraceful. Dress code is one of society's standards that set etiquette and respect for our institutions. Stop lowering the bar. That's what Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted out, to which John Fetterman was asked to respond. And believe it or not, Fetterman is a lot more clear than our resident-in-chief at the UN this morning.
Well, her platform, really, she runs on more and more ding-a-ling, picks, on in the meetings over in Congress. So I'm not really sure why she cares how I dress, but she really takes it a different way.
All right. He says Marjorie Taylor Greene should just worry about them ding-a-ling picks. The ding-a-ling picks.
More and more ding-a-ling, picks.
Okay. Obviously referencing the Hunter Biden ding-a-ling picks that she presented as part of the no evidence.
More and more ding-a-ling, picks.
All right, thank you, sir. So I just want one Republican with some cojones to dress like the QAnon shaman with the new no dress code rule. Dan had a good idea. He said everybody should just come in wearing the Trump mug shirt.
Oh, I love that. Love that.
That would be pretty cool, too.
That would also be based.
What if they did a QAnon shaman, because it was vest, right? And he was shirtless underneath it. How easy is it to make a temporary tattoo? Like, What if they did the mugshot temporary tattoo? We're talking to Andy Ogles tomorrow. I might float this idea to Ogles.
Yes. Yeah, we got to propose that.
Let's get him. I'll buy it for him. Let's get him a QAnon shaman costume. Let's get him a Donald Trump mugshot tattoo, a temporary one for his chest.
Yes.
And let's see if he'll wear that in there. That'd be pretty fun.
Very based.
It would be. 9:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thanks for hanging out with us. This is the Chris Hand Show on WTN.
The FBI getting involved after what a teenaged girl says she found in the lavatory of a recent flight. We'll tell you about it at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris And. I'm getting a lot of texts. Chris, Andy's in the House. He's not in the Senate. I made the joke that Andy Ogles should dress up like the QAnon shaman. Like I know Andy's in the House. I was just making a joke.
Jokes.
I don't know if I could get Marsha Blackburn to wear the QAnon shaman outfit. But we are going to put in a request to Haggerty's office to see if we can make that happen.
Yes.
Same deal applies. I will pay for the QAnon shaman outfit if they will wear it on the Senate floor. So I'm gonna get an official request out to Haggerty's team then. I'll officially request it to Blackburn's team too. We got that guy's cell phone number.
Why not?
Right? Yeah. I'll buy the outfit. They just have to wear it. That's it. And I think that's better. Like, let me pay for it instead of your tax dollars.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. We're just doing it for the lulz. But yes, I absolutely know that Andy Ogles is not in the Senate.
Keep up, Chris.
Everybody was roasting me in the super text line. I felt bad. I even looked at Mac. I was like, do I have to say something about this? Jeez. No chill on the super text line, but I love it. 615-737-9986. Hey, on the way, we're going to talk about illegal immigration and a revolutionary new suburb. Okay? There's this suburb in Texas that you don't need a Social Security card to buy the house. You don't need a United States ID to buy the house. It's the weirdest thing. It's like an illegal alien paradise. 9:59 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll talk about the illegal immigration community next. Right now, Ken Weaver with the news on Super Talk.
Ten o'clock on the dot this Tuesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. Got that endangered child alert still in effect. TBI, looking for a 1-year-old baby boy taken from Nashville. Liam Ismael Diego Cuib, last seen wearing a Mickey Mouse shirt and blue jeans. He may be with his mother's ex-boyfriend. Authorities say the ex-boyfriend may be trying to get to Alabama. If you know anything about this case, call 1-800-TBI-FIND. Right now in New York, President Biden just wrapped up his address to the UN General Assembly.
The United States seeks a more secure, more prosperous, more equitable world for all people.
Biden's remarks follow a dire warning by the United Nations chief, who said the leaders of the world seem incapable of coming together to respond what he says is a planet becoming unhinged with mounting global challenges and geopolitical tensions. Fox News says the first Biden impeachment inquiry hearing will be next Thursday in the House. Subpoenas could be issued this week for bank records of Hunter Biden and James Biden. President Biden facing accusations that he was involved in foreign business deals set up by his son Hunter, who allegedly promised his father would use his public office to grant favors in exchange for payments. And federal investigators looking into an incident aboard an American Airlines flight bound from Charlotte to Boston earlier this month. Jim Ryan is in the carrier's hometown of Dallas-Fort Worth.
On September 2nd, a 14-year-old girl and her family were aboard American Airlines Flight 1441 when a flight attendant directed the teen to use a first-class bathroom instead of the lavatory and coach where the family was sitting. The teen says she found a cell phone taped to the wall, its camera pointed toward her. The family believes the male flight attendant planted that phone. The FBI and the airline are investigating.
Right now in Nashville, Vanderbilt riled by the latest top 20 universities rankings in U.S. News and World Report. The magazine dropped Vandy to 18th this year from 13th last year. Fox 17 says Vanderbilt put out a 12-paragraph response challenging the ranking as being a result of incomplete and misleading methodology. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
10:05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. So there's this crazy story. A new land development that goes by the name Colony Ridge. The Daily Wire is doing this investigation on this. And it's great work that the Daily Wire is doing. And Spencer Lindquist, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. So this Colony Ridge is the fastest growing development in the U.S. And it's because it's a magnet for illegal aliens. So this is from the article. A Texas land developer has established a sprawling settlement north of Houston where thousands of illegal immigrants are believed to have settled, raising concerns among experts and elected officials that the development 400 miles in the interior of the United States could become a strategic asset for cartels. So this development, based on publicly available information, says the Daily Wire, is over 60 square miles. It's basically the size of Washington, D.C., and they're saying that the estimated population is growing rapidly, thanks to its marketing plan targeted at the Hispanic population in Texas. So here's here's where it gets crazy, right? Houses on the ground fly the flags of foreign countries, and many homes display their addresses on spray-painted pieces of plywood. Many structures, some of which are not hooked up to running water, are under construction, while others were unfinished but didn't appear to be actively getting worked on. At least one plot of land didn't have any structures at all, just a tent in the corner nestled between shrubs. So what it looks like it's being built is like a Brazilian favela, shantytown, shack city. But despite what appears to be poor living conditions, the Daily Wire reports, throughout much of the development, Colony Ridge took a helicopter over this Colony Ridge development and filmed it. And the edges of the property are covered with construction vehicles, and each one is clearing forest to make more room for more houses. Here's where it gets really crazy, though. Colony Ridge is owned and operated by developer William Trey Harris, and it's rapidly expanding, at least in part, due to a financing arrangement that makes it possible for illegals to buy the land deep in the heart of Texas. Now, traditional financing methods require credit ratings, proof of income, and all that kind of stuff, right? But the Daily Wire was told that the buyers at Colony Ridge are able to circumvent the usual requirements, even dodging the need to have a Social Security number, because with a traditional bank loan, you need to be able to show that you have credit rating, proof of income, right? But the loan that they're getting now, the buyers at Colony Ridge are asked to pay as little as a few $100s as a down payment because the loan is directly from the developer, bypassing traditional mortgages. And while the buyers are probably going to pay higher interest rates, near 15%, it's a great deal for someone with no other option to buy land in the country. This is getting insane, the illegal immigration, to the point where you have an entire development north of Houston with the square mileage that's equal to Washington, D.C., where illegal aliens can buy land without a Social Security number. This is absolutely a security risk. Who else is buying the land in Colony Ridge? Love to get your thoughts on it. 615-737-9986. If you want to comment or jump in the conversation. Got a text here that says a couple years ago, a Tennessee building contractor who built subdivision called 99.7 and said the federal government is buying up these houses for the illegals. Is this still happening? I don't know. It's just insane. It's crazy. I got a text from 9495. I wonder how many Texans with poor credit scores are seeing this and flipping out. I would be flipping out. This is where we're at in the country. Land developers are developing an entire community for illegal aliens and selling them the property with a direct from the builder loan, right? And you don't need a social security number. You can put down as little as a few $100s because it's not a traditional bank loan. Because the loan is directly from the developer, bypassing traditional mortgages. Interest rates at 15%. Are you kidding me? Of course, it's going to become a hotbed for cartel activity. This is going to be one of the most dangerous 60 square miles in the country very, very soon. David in Hendersonville, you have a comment on the subdivision known as Colony Ridge. What's up, David? You're on Super Talk.
How's it going, Chris?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right, buddy. Wouldn't this be against the law? Because they have to, they're in the United States for one, buying property. They have to have social security number because they have to be able to, they have to pay taxes on this property. And, you know, in order to pay taxes, you got to have social security number.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know how they're...
I would think that this would be against the law.
I don't know how they're circumventing it. I mean, it is entirely possible for non-residents to buy homes in the U.S. Anybody who wants to can purchase property in the U.S.
Well, yeah, but they have to have a social security number, don't they?
I don't know, man. This is insane. This is like, I'm just digging in on this story. We'll Google on whether you would need a social security number. I appreciate the call, David. Hey, Frank and Beth Page, you have a comment on the subdivision. It feels like it should be absolutely illegal. Frank, what do you think about this subdivision in Colony Ridge?
These things are continuing in stories like you're running right now, and other talk shows and things I see in the news are sprinkled across the United States. And things aren't going to change in this country until everybody from Brentwood and every state, every city are affected by it. And right now, somebody's listening to the story who's not even in the state. They may read a blurb about it and think, oh, that's tough for them down there. But until Americans wake up, which would probably be too late by the time they do, when all these things are happening in their neighborhoods, then maybe they'll vote to get rid of this type of thing and to get folks out of here, demagnetize the country, as Phil Valentine used to say, and go back to their countries and affect change from the country they're fleeing from. Vote for people in their country who will change their status, economic status in their countries, and stem the flow of people flowing up to this country.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much more people need to see, though, when you have illegal aliens that are soccer coaches assaulting young boys in Franklin. Like, every town is a border town. Every state's a border state at this point.
Yeah, and you wonder, what is it going to take for people to wake up? But it's like the frog in water. They keep turning temperature up until it's too late for the frog to hop out. It's become dinner.
No, you're absolutely right, Frank. Thanks for the call. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Scotty in Columbia, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Scotty?
Hey, Bob. Hey, I'm very well familiar with the whole deal in Roman Forest and King's Colony down there. I used to live right by there. That's one of the reasons we sold our property there.
Really?
It was originally bought by a guy down in Monterrey, Mexico. I don't know who owns it now. But Roman Forest went into receivership. It was going to be this development. And the guy bought it. And all these are like acre lots down there. And for $3,000 down, $300 a month for 30 years, you can buy an acre of flat, nothing land. It's a swamp, actually. And they're down in Texas. They have, for the septic systems, they have what's called an aerobic system, where you have to be so far away from a well to do that. There's places that can't, and you cannot take and have this aerobic system, so it has to be so far away from your well. I have a friend of mine that lives up in Cut and Shoot, has a porta pot business, He has over 400 porta pots in that one area because they don't have septic systems. It's ridiculous.
That's crazy, man.
Totally ridiculous.
I don't blame you for moving away from there. Thanks for the call, Scotty. Thanks for the context. So they're you know, again, a caller had asked me if, you know, how do they get around paying taxes? And I'm not sure about that, but they're borrowing directly from the land developer, so they don't have to worry about a social security number. They don't have to worry about a traditional mortgage. But they don't even need a social security number. It's crazy. In the article, it says, depending on the application, customers can provide social security numbers, Texas driver's license, state IDs, passports, and other forms of identifications. But Harris explains to the outlet, it goes on to state that there is nothing illegal about non-citizens buying land in the United States, and that property developers are not legally required to check immigration status. That's on the federal government's Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents. It contends. The Center Square reporter Bethany Blankley did not respond to a request for comment on how its story came about. Absolutely insane. And then they go on to say there's a very thin law enforcement presence in the area. Very thin. It's appealing because they plan to live and work illegally. That means they probably have to break a whole lot of different kinds of laws in order to buy vehicles and drive the vehicles and maybe show documents to potential employers. When people buy here, they're buying peace of mind from law enforcement. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. James in Tullahoma, you have a comment on this Colony Ridge subdivision. James, you're on Super Talk. What's up?
Yes, sir. I may be wrong, but I heard that foreigners, like Americans or other people that are not Mexican citizens, they cannot purchase any land in Mexico. You can build a house on a lot, but you will never own the land. You'll own the house, but not the land. So I don't know if that's true or not.
Interesting. So they could buy land here, but we can't buy land there. I am seeing that it is legal for foreigners to purchase property in Mexico. However, it's outside of restricted zones, which is the restricted zones are about 31 miles from the shorelines and about 62 miles from international borders. So they really have to be on the interior, but you can't buy land that's like, you know, coastal, beautiful property.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, man. So you can buy land in Mexico, but there are some restrictions on it. However, it doesn't appear like there's any restrictions for foreign nationals to buy land here in the United States, and they borrow directly from the developer. They put a couple $100 down. No social security number needed. Sue in Franklin, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Sue?
Hi there. Thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely.
I was going to say that until we have new terrorist attacks, nobody's going to wake up on the left. Until they have terrorist attacks in their own backyard, there's not going to be anything done about. They're going to keep buying up our property, and they're going to keep taking our Social Security, et cetera, and it's not going to change until we're hit again.
I mean, I appreciate the call, Sue, and I somewhat agree with you, but on the flip side, we're seeing, you know, people on the terror watch list crossing the border now. If there is a terrorist attack, we're going to see, unless it happens to be a white guy who they can say is an evil white nationalist, it's going to be hashtag not all insert group. You know, it's going to be the hashtag not all Muslims or hashtag not all migrants. Whatever group commits said terror attack, they will just use that the way the left always does to say, no, it's not all of them. It's not. But this is what we're seeing. You know, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick was on Laura Ingraham last night talking about the border crisis. And I like Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. I actually like him a lot more than Greg Abbott. But he was on Laura Ingraham, and this is what he had to say about the border crisis happening right now.
I've been on with you countless times over the last 2.5 years since Biden became president. They've been lying to us the entire time. They think the American public is just stupid. And what I look at it is there's nothing more dangerous than a politician who lies. But what is really worse, when they know you know they're lying, and they don't care what you think. They don't care what the American people think. Everybody knows they're lying. Everybody knows the border's wide open. Since he came into office, we've had about 6.5 million people apprehended. Another million gotaways. That's 7. He has another year and a half to go left. And that means there'll be another 2 million. That's about 8-9 million. And that doesn't count, Laura, the people that we don't catch. We don't catch them all. So you're talking about 10, 11, 12 to 15 million people that have come here. This is his agenda to destroy this country, and he lies to us every day, and he doesn't care because the means are the end, and that's to destroy this country, and that's what he's doing. And we got to get him out of office in 24.
I think that we need to get him out of office a lot sooner than that. Hopefully this impeachment inquiry can ramp up and we can get a real impeachment process going, because what we're seeing at the southern border is unsustainable. I mean, they're literally developing subdivisions for illegal aliens. What? More of your calls next at 615-737-9986. My name is Chris Hand. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Still cleaning up that vehicle fire north of Nashville. It's got 24 eastbound, a slow go through Montgomery County right there before MLK Parkway. In fact, the stop and go starts at Wilma Rudolph Boulevard there in Montgomery County. A baby boy has been taken from Nashville, and President Biden tells the UN General Assembly Russia's banking on the world giving up on supporting Ukraine. These stories and more at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. I just got a text, said I had a lady give me the evil eye because I have my windows down listening to 99.7 talk about illegal immigration. I said, I love it. The truth hurts. LOL. It does. This stuff is hurting all of us. So if you missed it, we're talking about a new development north of Houston with as much square mileage as Washington, D.C., 60 square miles. The development is called Colony Ridge. And what's happening in Colony Ridge is that the developer is giving loans for the homes direct from him. You don't have to go through a traditional mortgage loan. So, of course, that's attracting quite a few illegal immigrants because they don't need the paperwork and they can buy their house. And apparently it looks like the developer is paying the taxes and all that fun stuff. And, you know, this is concerning to say the least. Republican congressman, this is all being reported by the Daily Wire. It's a great article, Inside Colony Ridge. It's the fastest growing development in the U.S. So in the article, it says Republican Congressman Brian Babin, who represents a neighboring Texas district and also recently surveyed the development by helicopter, says Colony Ridge has doubled in size in recent years, and they're concerned about cartel activity. So Brian Babin tells the Daily Wire, it was very concerning to fly over. It has an enormous footprint. In the last 3 years since I last saw it, it looks like it's pretty much doubled in size. And there is word that the cartels are playing a role in this area. Representative Babin is not the only one concerned about cartels. There's another man, Bensman, who reports in his book, the Mexican cartels are very active and that they run safe houses, they run drugs, they do marijuana grows, and they commit crimes. Citing conversations that he's had with law enforcement. This is a homeland security issue. It's a public safety issue. 100% it's a public safety issue. You know, when people are coming through the border, they're coming from all over the place. We got people coming from China, Ghana, Brazil, you name it, they're coming through our southern border. And people from the terrorist watch list are coming through the southern border. The cartels are coming through the southern border. I mean, we reported on a story a couple weeks ago of the cartels firing on Border Patrol agents, opening fire on Border Patrol agents. It's an absolute mess. Absolute mess. There are photos being reported. Eagle Pass, Texas. More than 1,500 migrants crossing the border from Mexico into Eagle Pass during the first 6 hours of Monday morning. Shattering a record for the small Texas border town that they only established last Friday when 1,300 migrants crossed the border in a single day. And I had played a clip from Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick of Texas saying, you know, that's just who we catch. That's just who we catch. The numbers that we get are the people that we apprehend. So how many is it really? Is it double? Triple? How many people are getting away? It's scary to look at. The border should just be completely shut down. Completely. And even if they did that, even if they shut down the border today with the military, are we already screwed? Maybe. I mean, this is going to absolutely change the fabric of our nation. Without a doubt. And we're inviting them in. We're paving the way for them. And now, you know, we have developments like Colony Ridge, where the developer is giving out the loans himself. I don't know. Smells like treason. 1029 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Ken Weaver's got the news.
10:30 on the dot this Tuesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast coming up in 2 minutes. Endangered child alert. TBI still looking for a 1-year-old baby boy taken from Nashville. Liam Ismael Diego Cuib has black hair, brown eyes. He was last seen wearing a Mickey Mouse shirt and blue jeans. TBI thinks he is with his mother's ex-boyfriend who may be trying to get to Alabama. And if you know anything about the case, call 1-800-TBI-FIND. President Biden telling the UN General Assembly this morning Russia thinks the world will grow weary and allow it to brutalize Ukraine without consequence.
We have to stand up to this naked aggression today and deter other would-be aggressors tomorrow.
Biden said if the world allows Ukraine to, quote, be carved up, the independence of any nation is not secure. And right now in Virginia, the Americans who were imprisoned in Iran for years are back in the U.S. today, landing at a military airfield outside Washington this morning, greeted by friends and family. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I recently did a workshop talking about some of the missteps of the investing industry, some of the biggest mutual fund companies out there. You probably recognize these names: Fidelity, Vanguard, Raymond James, Edward Jones, actually using data and information from their own websites as I walk through this. Now, one of the things I was talking about is diversification and how investors could be in for a rude awakening at the amount of risk that they actually have in their portfolios, and they don't even realize it. Now, the example I like to use to help people understand why do these huge companies do this? I mean, these are big companies. And you go, well, why? Well, think about the diet industry. In the diet industry, you had things like this: fat-free this, fat-free that, fat-free that. And what happened is they did a study. They were looking at diabetes in children. And what they found was that when they went fat-free, they actually ended up with more diabetes rather than less, because what they substituted for fat was sugar. Now, what happens in the mutual fund industry, they tend to keep costs low by investing in very narrow areas of the market that are inexpensive to manage. So what happens is the investor ends up with more risk than they think that they've got. Now, why do they do that? Because you are actually attracted by low costs. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't use these big mutual fund companies. It just means that you have to be eyes wide open. As an investment firm, we help people sidestep these things because sometimes you have no choice. You have a 401k, you're dealing with these fund companies, and you can't go anywhere else. So what we do is we help you go around these landmines. To set up an initial 15-minute phone call, go to our website, paulwinkler.com, or you can just scan the QR code right here. We look forward to talking with you.
10:35 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. This is the Chris Hand Show. Mac Morey in the producer chair, Ken Weaver in the newsroom, and you, the fourth man of our crew, on the Super Text line and the phone line, 615-737-9986. Our friend Mike H. texted in. He said they need to hire 80,000 ICE agents instead of IRS agents.
Bingo.
Bingo. Got another friend texted in, said, where was it? Oh, 4174. My son has been working his butt off and paying ridiculous taxes as a single man trying to get a house. I am pissed. Yeah. I'm pissed too. I'm pissed for you, 4174. Country's falling apart. Nobody covers it. No, you know. The big guys in Mockingbird media, they try to avoid this story at all cost. I doubt you're going to see anything about Colony Ridge subdivision on ABC News or CBS News. You know what I mean? Like, who's going to be talking about that? And, you know, for all the negative things that we do have to say about Fox, at least Fox covers the border crisis. Bill Melugin, he's one of the good ones. He's down on the border constantly. And this is his latest border update.
I can tell you that early this morning in Eagle Pass, we witnessed one of the largest mass illegal crossings we have ever seen in the last 2.5 years of covering our southern border. We'll get right to this video. Take a look at this stunning footage. Border Patrol sources telling us just after midnight, about 2,500 migrants crossed illegally into Eagle Pass. You can see this lengthy line of them stretching from shore to shore in the river. This video perspective coming from the Mexican side of the river in Piedras Negras, one of our contacts over there shooting this video as they essentially bum rushed Eagle Pass last night. And this happened right next to the port of entry where the Biden administration is telling people to cross legally. They don't care. They're crossing illegally because there are little to no fear of consequences. Take a look at this second perspective, this second piece of video showing what was almost essentially a stampede of people rushing down to the edge of the river just after midnight. You can see some Mexican National Guard soldiers kind of standing around aimlessly, not sure of how to try to stop so many people, but they went rushing into the water and crossed illegally right into Eagle Pass. Over 2,500 of them, according to our sources.
That's absolutely insane. Over 2,500 bum rushing the border. They have no fear. They have no fear. They don't care about our rules, our laws. They don't care about the Biden administration trying to tell them to cross legally. And you watch some of these videos, and they're letting these guys in. They're literally opening the gate, letting them in 10 at a time, 10 at a time. Why? If you're being overrun with illegal immigration, like, just stop everything. Can we just stop everything? Can we put a freeze on all immigration for 6 months until we get this under control? All immigration for a year? Can we put a, you know, it's crazy. They can put a moratorium on evictions, but they can't put a moratorium on immigration. That has to keep flowing. We have real problems in this country. Real problems. And Bill Melugin, you know, he's down there witnessing it firsthand, and even he sounds shocked. But Bill, please describe the group for us. It's got to be families, right?
Masses of single adults as well as some family units as these migrants continue to have no fear of consequences for crossing the U.S. border illegally. They believe if they step foot on U.S. soil, they will be released into the United States, and they are not listening to Biden administration messaging that the border is closed and that they should not come to the United States. And as you mentioned, it appears a lot more of them are on the way.
Oh. All right. A lot more on the way. It always kills me when it's single adult males. Because if you're fleeing a bad situation, right, wouldn't you bring your family with you? If you're coming to claim asylum and you have a wife and kids, wouldn't you bring them with you? I would never flee a bad situation and leave behind my kids and wife. Just wouldn't. Wouldn't happen. You leave your kids and wife behind when you're going to war, not fleeing a war zone. It just feels like a soft invasion. It feels like we're being invaded and nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to highlight what's really happening down on the border. And they don't care about Biden's rules. They don't care about how this affects the average American citizen. The administration absolutely doesn't care about how it affects the average American citizen. In Chicago, they're downright fed up with what's happening with the illegal immigrants. So much so that at a town hall, residents are basically saying to Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, what are we doing about this?
I wanted to know if there is a capacity limit, and what is that limit, if there is one, and why can't we close the borders of Chicago or the state of Illinois in the first place? Why can't we close the borders?
I mean, ma'am, you vote blue, you vote for Democratic leadership that gives you a sanctuary city, and now you want to figure out how to close the borders of Chicago? You want to close the borders of Illinois? Very convenient.
I don't know if there's a limit. I do know that when you are seeking asylum, you are granted protections from the U.S. to not return.
That's the mayor of Chicago.
That is the process that folks are going through when they come here, when they get their interview, and then the Texas governor sends them to Illinois, and specifically Chicago.
So they get to come, once they do an interview in Texas, they get to come regardless. Texas says you're an asylum seeker, you're being persecuted, so yeah, you can leave your country and come here and go wherever you want.
Not Texas. This is the federal government.
At least the mayor owned that. Not Texas. The federal government is saying if you claim asylum, you can come. But, these residents in these sanctuary cities, they don't care if it's happening to Texas. They don't want it in Chicago.
Is the one that does the process around asylum seeking. It is Texas who is making the decision to send them to Chicago.
And that's what I wanted to know. Can we say, no, we won't take anymore?
It has to come from the federal government.
And at least kudos to the mayor for owning that it's coming from the federal government. But, I mean, you're going to blame your problems on Texas and Chicago? That's what you're going to do? The problem is the federal government has a wide open border and a vacancy sign hanging from it. Randy in Mount Juliet, you have a comment on border crossings. Randy, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Randy?
Why is it so hard for anyone in the United States to call these people what they really are, which is illegal invaders? They're not illegal immigrants. Immigrants implies that they're doing this under the laws afforded them, and they're not. When they cross that border illegally, they are criminals and should be treated as such. And it's time for Americans to wake up, take back our country, and say no more. We are going to elect a president that will build a wall, will solidify our border, and stop this Trojan horse effect of allowing illegal invaders into our country to do whatever harm they see fit. We've allowed this to go on for too many years, and it's time to put a stop to it.
No, I absolutely agree with you, Randy. Thanks for the call. I appreciate you, man. And yeah, it's been going on for way too many years. This has been a problem since I was a kid. This has been a problem for decades. And I agree. We need to call it like it is. Illegal invaders. Yeah, I have no problem with that. It's the left that wants to manipulate the language. It's the left that wants to call them migrants. They're not migrants. They're illegal aliens. They broke a law to get here. They'll probably break more laws once they're here. And residents of Chicago want to blame Texas for the problems that they're seeing from the illegal aliens. This is what happens in sanctuary cities. They don't care if the problems stay in Texas. They don't care about that at all. They only care if the problems start affecting them, which goes back to what another caller said earlier in the show. Nobody's going to wake up until this problem is at their doorstep. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. 2925 texted in and said, send a couple thousand to remote Alaska with winter coming and they'll stop coming. Maybe. Not a bad idea. Brian in Nashville, you have a comment on the border. Brian, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Brian?
Hey, man. How you doing?
Good. How are you, sir?
Good. Thanks for taking my call. You're talking about treason here. This is treason.
Yep.
This guy's been guilty of being a traitor to our country. He's given us away, and he can because he's got all the protection around him, but we just don't have any. And everybody talks about Republicans. What they need to talk about is right and wrong, and don't worry about labeling people. Is it right or wrong? And put that guy on trial for this at the end. Maybe President Trump will do it. Maybe he'll right the wrongs once he gets back in, if he gets back in, because they're going to cheat again. And we have no idea when we push those buttons at the polls what's going on. We're faithful people. We were built on the laws that our forefathers started and have, of course, been increased and decreased depending on the situation. Now we're seeing lawlessness at the border and being promoted by a commander-in-chief. My God, where are we?
You're absolutely right. And then to your point on, we don't know what button to push at the election booth and what that registers as. You sound like a Democrat from the early 2000s. We're not allowed to say those things anymore. That's now you're an alt-righter in 2023. But if you said that in 2003, you were a Democrat. But thanks for the call, Brian. I appreciate you. And yeah, to your point, I think that the developer of this Colony Ridge should absolutely face charges for this. This is absolutely insane. I don't know what they could charge the guy on, but figure something out. I mean, they can make charges out of thin air for President Trump. So I'm sure somebody could charge him with something. Christopher in the borough, you want to talk about the border? You're on Super Talk. What's up, Chris?
Hi. Yes. I don't know if you have time for three quick things, but one, I'm not sure what our government has in the past or hopes to in the future hold these countries accountable that are driving their own citizens away. I'm sure we're providing some sort of help, relief, as we are most countries that are in decline. It seems like there is at least a carrot or a stick that we could use to make them accountable, so just the people quit coming here. That's number one. Number two, I know if we instituted a more rigorous, I hate to say it, identity program where in order to send money across the border, in order to rent equipment, in order to cash a check or rent a car, any of those kinds of things that a lot of aliens, illegal immigrants are using, you would have to show this particular ID, in which case if you don't have it, you can't do it. I know a lot of people tend to come here, work, send money home, send money back across the border. If that becomes impossible, that would also start to hopefully make it harder to do business here.
I think that's a great point. Hit him in the pocketbook.
Yeah, exactly. And my third point just escaped my head. I apologize.
Oh, it slipped through like a migrant at the border. Oh, it's all right, Chris. We appreciate the call. Thanks for reaching out.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Yeah, man. Of
All
course.
Right.
No, I think a lot of the money that the illegal aliens make here, they send back to their home countries, and you finance a lot of that. And I think you could absolutely make the case to try and make that impossible, and that would stem a lot of this. Darren in Columbia, you have a comment on the border. Darren, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Darren?
I'm calling about the border, and I'm really concerned about this because, I'm a veteran, and I'm sitting here watching this invasion happen, and I can't help but feel like I need to do something. And I'm watching our government do nothing. I'm watching our governors just kind of act tough.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what the military is doing, our leaders. I know there's something where the military can take over if we're having this. I look at Mayorkas and I think, what a traitor. I mean, this guy needs to be tried and hung as far as I'm concerned. And I texted that. I'm like, on live TV, the world needs to see what we do to traitors in this nation. And I'm really getting really sick and tired of this. And there's part of me that feels like at some point the American people are going to have to rise up and take care of this themselves somehow. I don't understand why, like Governor Abbott isn't using the military that he has to his disposal. I know people say that he can't use his National Guard in this way, but at some point, it's like, the heck with it. Do it anyway.
Yeah,
Nobody else is following the law. Do it anyway. And then also all the sheriffs in those counties and across the nation can start deputizing people, ex-veterans, ex-cops. Grab your guns. Let's go down and pass out bottles of water and tell them to walk south. They're not crossing the border. Because if our government's not going to do it, we need to do it.
No,
I'm getting to that point.
I totally get your frustration, and I don't think it's unwarranted, Darren. Thank you for the call. You know, I don't think that rising up and doing something on our own is the move right now. I don't know if that's ever the move. It's hard to say that your frustration is unfounded. You know, this is ridiculous. This keeps happening. Nobody seems to be caring about the crisis at the border. You know, nothing's getting done about it. It just keeps getting worse. And then they'll call Trump a racist for wanting to build a border wall. You know, when Trump says he wants to have deportation on a scale that's never been seen, I'm like, sign me up. Let's go. You know, that's one way to fix the problem. But the problem's there. The problem's getting bigger. And, you know, we're stuck here twiddling our thumbs. I hear your frustration. It's 10:52 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Got a crash in Williamson County, 65 southbound, just south of Murfreesboro Road. Only one lane open. Baby boy taken from Nashville. The search is still on. President Biden appealing for the world to unite around Ukraine's fight against Russia, while House Speaker Kevin McCarthy lets it be known he wants answers to burning questions before agreeing to another aid package. And another deadline set by striking auto workers. These stories at more at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. Spoiler alert, we're probably just going to give billions and billions more to Ukraine. But it's what we do. It's like the fun thing to do.
But we're going to shake our fists and stomp our feet before we do.
Amen. 10:59 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Ken Weaver, he's got the latest and the greatest headlines right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. Endangered child alert still in effect. TBI looking for 1-year-old Liam Ismail Diego Cuib. The boy has black hair, brown eyes. Baby boy last seen wearing a Mickey Mouse shirt and blue jeans. He may be with his mother's ex-boyfriend, whom authorities say is trying to get to Alabama. If you spot the child or have information about his whereabouts, you're asked to call Metro Nashville Police or TBI at 1-800-TBI-FIND. Right now in New York, President Biden's assured the UN General Assembly of his support for Ukraine against Russia.
We have to stand up to this naked aggression today and deter other would-be aggressors tomorrow.
In our nation's capital, Speaker Kevin McCarthy letting it be known he's skeptical about another aid package to help Ukraine against Russia ahead of Thursday's meeting between President Volodymyr Zelensky and Congress.
Is Zelensky elected to Congress? Is he our president? I don't think I have to commit anything. I have questions for him. Where's the accountability on the money we already spent? What is the plan for victory?
Biden and McCarthy's comments coming after the UN chief said the world's leaders seem incapable of coming together to respond to what the chief says is a planet becoming unhinged with mounting global challenges and geopolitical tensions. Another line drawn in the sand in the United Auto Workers strike against a GM, Ford, and Stellantis. Here's Dave Packer.
In an online video, UAW President Shawn Fain warning the big three automakers patience is wearing thin.
We've been available 24/7 to bargain a deal that recognizes our members' sacrifices and contributions to these record profits. Still, the big three failed to get down to business.
And an ultimatum.
Noon on Friday, September 22nd is a new deadline.
And if the union determines there hasn't been enough progress,
more locals will be called on to stand up and go out on strike.
Biden impeachment inquiry update. The House scheduled the first hearing for next Thursday. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN 11:05. My name is Chris Hand. We just got some crazy news across our desk. Mac, let's do the breaking news sounder.
This is a breaking news update on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ray Epps has been officially charged with his connection to the insurrection of January 6th. Weren't we just saying earlier today that Ray Epps will never be charged, so we're not allowed to ask about it?
Yes.
Weird. Write that down for the Chris Hand jinx.
There it is. Yep.
All right.
First of many.
Let me try another one while we're at it. The border will never be closed.
Please work.
Yeah,
please.
We're just testing out a theory here. Now, before we get all excited, Ray Epps has been charged, okay? And before you think, wow, this is awesome, he's charged with one misdemeanor count: disorderly or disruptive conduct on restricted grounds. He was charged by information which suggests that he plans to enter a plea deal. So this feels like they're throwing us another bone. This feels a lot like the Hunter Biden gun charge to me. And NBC News reports it like this: Ray Epps, the subject of Tucker Carlson's January 6th conspiracy theories, charged by DOJ. The subject of Tucker Carlson conspiracy theories? Is it a conspiracy theory that Ray Epps was there on the ground on January 6th? Is it a conspiracy theory that he was disorderly or disruptive? No, I mean, perhaps, as NBC News puts it, he was a victim of the conspiracy theory that he was a federal informant. I don't know. It felt like he was a federal informant. Maybe that's a conspiracy theory, but aren't they all conspiracy theories until they're proven? You know, Tucker talked about this with Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund, and we covered this back in the beginning of August. It was August 11th that we covered this, Ray Epps, and this is what it sounded like when Tucker and the Capitol Police Chief at the time were talking about Ray Epps.
And I would specifically cite a man called Ray Epps, who's now a hero on the left and funded by the Democratic Party, et cetera. But take the politics out of it. What is that? Here you have a guy on camera repeatedly saying, we're going into the Capitol.
We need to go into the Capitol. Into the Capitol.
And he's not in jail when people who didn't go into the Capitol are in jail? What do you make of that?
My concern with that, and I look at it from a chief of police point of view, is you have somebody that's down, and I believe he's right near the old executive office building on the 5th, the day before January 6th, talking to a group of people, talking about, we have to get into the building, we have to get in the building. And then the next day to see him at what's called the Pennsylvania Avenue Gate. It's one of the two fence lines I had down at the West Front. And he's there, and he clearly sees the banner, the metal crowd control barriers that are up with the signs saying restricted, so he knows that's a restricted area. And he's up there, and you see him lean in, and he whispers in somebody's ear, and he covers his mouth in such a way so you can't read his lips or anything. Whispers in somebody's ear, and that person moments later is attacking my officers.
So, yeah, Ray Epps was down there. Not a conspiracy theory. And now he's being charged. But again, if you look at the report, it just feels like they're throwing us a bone. One misdemeanor count. One. When the man continuously yelled, we're going into the Capitol. We're going in. Okay. Thanks. NBC goes on to say the criminal information charges that Epps did knowingly and with intent to impede and disrupt the orderly conduct of the government business and official functions, engage in disorderly and disruptive conduct in and within such proximity to a restricted building and grounds that is any posted, cordoned off, and otherwise restricted area within the United States Capitol and its grounds where the vice president was and would be temporarily visiting when and so that such conduct did in fact impede and disrupt the orderly conduct of the government, business, and official functions and attempted and conspired to do so. So is Ray Epps going to be locked up and have the key thrown away? I probably would think that that's not going to happen. You know, he's not charged with entering the Capitol. He's being charged with a misdemeanor. But I feel like you could probably charge the guy with a lot more. He did, however, make a comment in an interview last year saying, I never intended to break the law. It's not in my DNA. I'm sure you've looked up my record. I don't break the law. That's what Ray Epps said. He always smelled like a Fed to me. Epps also filed a defamation lawsuit against Tucker for spreading the conspiracy theories, suggesting that Epps was some sort of federal agent. I mean, but how could you not suggest that? The man is on the ground screaming at people to go inside the Capitol, and he wasn't charged. And now NBC News reports the unsupported notion that Epps was some sort of government agent who was inciting the mob to storm the Capitol has become widely accepted in right-wing circles. And even members of Congress have raised the Epps case during congressional hearings. Okay. But weren't they saying the same stuff about the laptop right before the election? The unsupported notion that the laptop was some sort of, possession of Hunter Biden. Even members of Congress have raised the laptop. It's like, well, yeah. Everything is an unsupported notion until we find out a year later that we were right the entire time. Melissa in McMinnville, you have a comment on January 6th. You're on Super Talk. What's up, Melissa?
Hi there. Thank you for taking my call.
Absolutely.
I was on the Ellipse on January the 6th, and I'm an event planner. I've done a lot of events at the Richard Russell Building, at the Capitol Building, the Rotunda, Statuary Hall, all that. I know the Capitol Police, very familiar with them. Actually, one time, one of the choir members that I was directing had a blue jean jacket on, and the Capitol Police came to me and asked me to ask her to take her blue jean jacket off. It wasn't proper attire for the United States Senate office building. So, standing on the Ellipse, and it was at 10:15, I looked at my watch. There were two Capitol policemen standing beside me. And I knew I'd see Secret Service. I know how they look. Like I say, this is my first time, making the rounds in D.C. and knowing, who the people are, who to look for and who to talk to, and if you're any kind of leadership. So I asked these policemen, I said, what are y'all doing down here at the White House when there's all these people up at the Capitol? Mm-hmm. And they said, Speaker Pelosi dismissed half of the Capitol police force at 10 a.m. and told us to go home. So I'm up there, and I'm thinking the National Guard's going to be there because I have, a good friend who used to be the head of the D.C. Guard. And I've got his phone number. And I'm looking around everywhere. I don't see any guard. I don't see guard. And I wanted to see him while I was up there. I was invited to his home while I was up there. And so I'm calling him on the phone. Where are you? I've never seen a crowd like this. I've never seen this many people. Everybody's peaceful. Everybody's wonderful. We were on the Ellipse at the White House. It was like a Woodstock. I mean, it was like a love-in. It was wonderful. The spirit there was fantastic. President Trump's not in any way exaggerating that. I was so glad to be there. And for a while, I was proud of our country. But when he told me that Muriel Bowser was not going to let them into the city, 20,000 of them, not let them into the city. And what I'd already experienced that day, she shut down all the metros coming into D.C. that morning. She shut down all the trains. She shut down cell phone service. Thank God mine wasn't one of them. I had Verizon. Verizon was one of the ones she couldn't shut down. She shut down AT&T, shut down all kinds of other cell providers. So here they were at 10:15. Well, the first flashbang we heard, and that happened at the Democratic National Headquarters, which is like 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
They looked at each other. Those two Capitol Police looked at each other, and they took off running.
Hey, that's crazy. Thank you for the call, Melissa. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, Nancy Pelosi, Trump said it the other day. Nancy Pelosi is responsible for January 6th.
I want to know who you called
By the way,
on that day.
Nancy Pelosi.
I
don't have. Why would I tell you that? Listen, Nancy
want to talk about
Pelosi
that?
was in charge of security. She turned down 10,000 soldiers. If she didn't turn down the soldiers, you wouldn't have had January 6th.
Did you call military or law enforcement?
What?
Did you call military or law enforcement at the moment the Capitol
I'm
was
not going
under
to
attack?
tell you anything.
Okay.
Let me put it this way. I behaved so well. I did such a good job. Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 soldiers.
Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 soldiers. I mean, that's why we had a mess in D.C., according to President Trump on January 6th. And it's hard not to believe him, you know. And Ray Epps now being charged is it a step in the right direction? What's your thoughts on it? 615-737-9986. You know, the breaking news right now, Ray Epps is being charged, albeit with a misdemeanor. You know, it just feels like they're trying to sweep this one under the rug. So that way the next time somebody says Ray Epps was never charged, they can go, no, he was. He sure was. But even NBC, with their headline of Ray Epps, subject of Tucker Carlson's January 6th conspiracy theories, charged by DOJ, even NBC says down in the second paragraph, it suggests that he plans to enter a plea deal. No, he's probably not going to serve any time. He's on the Biden plea deal plan, so he's not going to serve any time. Are you kidding? But this is where we're at. The border is wide open. Our government is absolutely corrupt. The Biden regime has weaponized the DOJ. They've weaponized. They're weaponizing the IRS. They've basically told us that we're wrong about everything until we're proven right. You know, it's just, it's crazy. It's crazy. Ray Epps has been charged with a misdemeanor. A misdemeanor. Meanwhile, January 6th, prisoners have been sitting in their cell with no court date, no light at the end of that tunnel because of political judges. Unreal. Absolutely unreal. And then, you know, there's all the accusations that the January 6th committee has destroyed all of their evidence. Weird. Will we ever get to the bottom of that? Probably not. They just want to sweep all of this under the rug as quickly as they can and use January 6th as their slogan. Oh, they tried to steal our democracy on January 6th.
Sorry. Just for context, I mean, misdemeanor, you're probably right. Plea deal, not going to serve any time. I mean, Stuart Rhodes serving 18 years, got another guy serving 14 years, 10 years, 8.5 years, 8 years, 7.5 years. I mean, people are serving time for what happened.
And for what? I mean, like, granted, some of them were fighting cops. Some of them were doing the wrong things, but some of them had the door opened wide and walked into the Capitol, which we saw on video. Some of them were just MAGA grannies, just walking around. It's crazy, man. It's a two-tier justice system. And I think the people that actually committed crimes on that day should be charged with crimes. However, Ray Epps, what a bone that they're throwing us with his little misdemeanor. He's actively trying to incite violence. And you know, I played the clip from Tucker and Capitol Police Chief Steve Sun, and he says, you know, at one point, Ray Epps covers up his mouth, whispers something into a guy's ear, and then that guy turns around and fights cops.
And he's up there, and you see him lean in, and he whispers in somebody's ear, and he covers his mouth in such a way so you can't read his lips or anything. Whispers in somebody's ear, and that person moments later is attacking my officers.
Yep, just a misdemeanor. Just a misdemeanor. No big deal. No big deal at all. Just feels like they're throwing us a bone. What do you think? 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. 8394 texted in and said, why will nobody in public office actually say that Nancy Pelosi specifically did what she did to cause January 6th to happen? I have no idea. Nobody will call her out. 9492, Epps will only get 6 months self-supervised probation, requiring one call to his probation officer a month. I feel like that might be a little harsh for old Ray Epps. I don't think he's going to be punished that hard. Mind you, they charge every other Jan 6 protester with a felony and throw the book at him. It is 11:20 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, don't forget, 11:30, Robbie Starbuck is going to be checking in with us to give a woke trash warning to the new Paw Patrol spinoff. Hang out with us. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hanford, Jeff Eddy's Efficient Heating and Cooling. The seasons are changing, my friend. I am ready for fall. But just because we're ready for fall doesn't mean your heater is ready for fall. You're going to be kicking that thing on in the morning to get the chill out of the air. And before you start doing that, you should have it serviced by my friends at Jeff Eddy's Efficient Heating and Cooling. I mean, it can be so hard to find somebody you trust with these large home repairs, and you got to know a guy who knows a guy. Well, let me introduce you to my guy, Jeff Eddy with Efficient Heating and Cooling. It's a small company with big service and even bigger results. I trust Jeff and his crew to do what's right because they've proved it time and time again. So if you're trying to make a decision to repair or replace your system, if you've already had another guy come out and look at it, give Jeff and his crew a call. They'll walk you through every option and scenario so that way you can make an informed decision. While the other guys, they're just going to pressure you to replace your system because they make more money that way. Efficient doesn't do that. Plus, with Efficient, they'll offer up to 18 months, same as cash financing on your next unit. They're a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric and an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. Go to efficienthvac.net or call 615-784-4424.
65 southbound is closed in Franklin due to a crash. This is going to be between Murfreesboro Road and the Paytonsville Road Goose Creek bypass exit. Efforts to avoid a potential federal government shutdown update. House Republicans were going to vote today. We'll tell you about it at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. I saw an interesting story come across my desk last night from the Daily Mail exclusive. Chinese spy threat to U.S. Congress. Capitol Hill warned to be on high alert after suspected Beijing espionage plot was uncovered in British Parliament. So a British parliamentary researcher with links to MPs with classified information was arrested for spying for China. Congress has been infiltrated with Chinese spies attempting to get access to classified information in recent years. We all know about Rep. Eric Swalwell and his Chinese spy lover, Fang Fang. Senator Feinstein, who had a spy as her driver for over 20 years. So when I see this headline from the Daily Mail, Capitol Hill warned to be on high alert, I'm wondering, like, what? We're just now warning them? They weren't on high alert already? What? I mean, it's crazy. Congress has been warned to be on high alert for Chinese spies after a suspected Beijing espionage plot was uncovered in British Parliament. Earlier this week, a parliamentary researcher with links to MPs with classified information was arrested for spying for China. The suspect is thought to be linked to numerous conservative members of parliament in the UK, including Security Minister Tom Tugnott and Foreign Affairs Committee Chair Alicia Kearns. According to reports, several of the members with links to the suspected spy are privy to classified or highly sensitive information. However, none have been accused of wrongdoing. So now Capitol Hill is being warned to be on high alert for Chinese spies. Shouldn't you always be on high alert for Chinese spies?
Yeah, I'd like to make a request that we're always on high alert for that, please.
Yeah, can we
That'd
make
be great.
that like a standard? Why is that? That's a
Yeah, why is that of note?
be on high alert. Like, oh, no kidding.
Yes.
Oh, like who do they send that memo to? How is Eric Swalwell still in Congress after banging a Chinese spy? Like, that's crazy. But yeah, be on high alert. Says, be on high alert. I mean, Swalwell was kicked off the House Intelligence Committee earlier this year due to his connection with Fang Fang. But, Dianne Feinstein, her driver for 20 years, had ties to the CCP. And she was a chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Wow. Like, this is nothing new. This is nothing new.
I mean, it was months ago that we had a Chinese spy balloon, allegedly, over our nation.
No, that was a weather balloon.
Yeah, exactly.
That was
my
fault.
fault.
That was a weather balloon that got caught off course. It was the only weather balloon that didn't know how to deal with wind. So, it just happened to go over nuclear sites.
Yeah.
Coincidentally.
Weird.
Checking for weather. And we also had the Chinese police stations operating within our borders. So, but now we should be on high alert.
But now, really.
Now we're going to start taking this seriously. So, fear not. Fear not. The government is going to start taking this seriously. I promise. I promise. Hey, just to be on the lookout for, after the news, Robbie Starbuck is going to be joining us to talk about the latest woke trash warning, which is Paw Patrol. Paw Patrol has gone full woke. The indoctrination of kids never takes a day off, and networks like Nickelodeon just love to indoctrinate your kids. We're going to talk with Robbie about that after the news. Right now, it is 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Ken Weaver with the headlines.
Once again, a crash has 65 southbound closed in Franklin between Murfreesboro Road and the Paytonsville Road Goose Creek bypass exit. And efforts to avoid a potential federal government shutdown update. House Republicans have pulled a bill that would have kept the government running through October with an 8% cut. So no vote today. And the deadline to avoid a shutdown if nothing is done remains September 30th. January 6th Capitol riot suspect roundup update. A man who claimed Fox News lied about him, pretended to be a Trump supporter to cause trouble so Trump supporters would be blamed, is charged with a misdemeanor count of disorderly or disruptive conduct on restricted grounds in connection to the January 6th Capitol riot. Ray Epps claimed in a lawsuit that Fox News Channel falsely accused him of being a government agent. And Biden impeachment inquiry update. Stephen Portnoy says a hearing is scheduled.
Republicans acknowledge they have not found hard and fast evidence that Joe Biden personally profited from his son and brother's business dealings. But the chairman of the House Oversight Committee says he aims to check by subpoenaing the bank records of Hunter and James Biden. Kentucky Congressman James Comer will hold his panel's first hearing in the new impeachment inquiry a week from Thursday.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I recently did a workshop talking about some of the missteps of the investing industry, some of the biggest mutual fund companies out there. You probably recognize these names: Fidelity, Vanguard, Raymond James, Edward Jones, actually using data and information from their own websites as I walk through this. Now, one of the things I was talking about is diversification and how investors could be in for a rude awakening at the amount of risk that they actually have in their portfolios, and they don't even realize it. Now, the example I like to use to help people understand why why do these huge companies do this? I mean, these are big companies. And you go, well, why? Well, think about the diet industry. In the diet industry, you had things like this: fat-free this, fat-free that, fat-free that. And what happened is they did a study. They were looking at diabetes in children. And what they found was that when they went fat-free, they actually ended up with more diabetes rather than less, because what they substituted for fat was sugar. Now, what happens in the mutual fund industry, they tend to keep costs low by investing in very narrow areas of the market that are inexpensive to manage. So what happens is the investor ends up with more risk than they think that they've got. Now, why do they do that? Because you are actually attracted by low costs. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't use these big mutual fund companies. It just means that you have to be eyes wide open. As an investment firm, we help people sidestep these things because sometimes you have no choice. You have a 401k, you're dealing with these fund companies, and you can't go anywhere else. So what we do is we help you go around these landmines. To set up an initial 15-minute phone call, go to our website, paulwinkler.com, or you can just scan the QR code right here. We look forward to talking with you.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. This is the Chris Hand Show. I'm scrolling through Instagram last night, and I noticed a post from our friend of the station, Robbie Starbuck, going in on Paw Patrol because Paw Patrol has gone full woke. Robbie joins us now on the hotline. Robbie, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm good, man. So what is going on with Paw Patrol, and what kind of character are they introducing for people that haven't been paying attention? What's happening in the Paw Patrol universe?
Well, as strange as this sounds, because I'm not normally an expert on Paw Patrol, this was raised to my attention actually by one of my kids who found out about this through another kid that they know, and they said, "Dad, you've got to hammer this and make sure that parents know about this and that they stop having their kids watch this show." So yes, I've effectively created mini-me's in my children who are just like eagle-eyed on stopping this insanity. But this is what they've done is they've gone woke with Paw Patrol, just like all these other kids shows. They hired a lady by the name of Lynn Zamir who identifies as transgender. And
she actually, on her Instagram, she has Queer Mr. Rogers.
Yes. So identifies as Queer Mr. Rogers and actually created a show called Queer Kid Stuff on YouTube. If you ever want just to have nightmares for hours, go to that YouTube channel and see the stuff she's making. It is a litany of indoctrination videos for little kids. In fact, she did a partnership with Dove last year. Dove, the major company. Dove, they make soap, they make chocolate, which is kind of weird in itself that a company that makes soap also makes chocolate. But she did this partnership with them where they celebrate normalizing people like her talking to children ages 0 to 7 about gender identity and sexuality. So these corporations and these TV stations like Nick Jr., they are dead set on sexualizing kids, and they'll do it by any means necessary. And this is just the latest example, which is what I was trying to explain to people, is that, like, from my experience in Hollywood directing some of the biggest stars in the world, I understand how the industry works. I understand sort of the psychology behind the things that they do, and it has never been clearer to me that there is a concerted effort. This is not an accident. This is a concerted effort to sexualize kids and to create chaos and really fractures within the family, separate kids from their parents by creating new value sets. And the reality is that there's too many disconnected parents out there who just hand over the iPad, tell the kid, sit down, watch whatever. They have no clue what their kid's watching. And their kid could be watching hours of Queer Kid Stuff, which has been featured on YouTube many times and explicitly given through the algorithm to kids. So this is the type of person that is spending time alone with your child when you hand them over that iPad and you let them watch shows that you think are totally fine, like Paw Patrol.
Well, it seems like they always attack a show that seems safe. Like, I mean, in 2021, Paw Patrol was attacked for being pro-police because they have a police canine on the show. Then, so you think the show's safe, and right when you think the show's safe, that's when they swoop in. They do a lot of this. Netflix did the same thing with Rocko's Modern Life, which was another Nickelodeon show from my childhood. So they put Rocko's Modern Life on Netflix, and you're like, oh, cool, I remember this from when I was a kid. So you don't think it's bad because you've seen all the episodes. And then after it's been up there for a few months, they introduce a new season with a transgender character. And it seems like that's what they're trying to do with Paw Patrol. They wait until the parents have fallen asleep at the wheel, and now it's this new spinoff, Rubble and Crew, I believe is the name of it. And so they want you to just think they're watching Paw Patrol, but really it's indoctrination.
1,000%. And so they added this new transgender character that was written by this person, Lynn Zamir, and that's just one of many examples I can give. I mean, Nick Jr. itself is just a haven of left-wing insanity. They do, climate change hours where they teach the kids about climate change, and they have Blue's Clues. They just did an episode with drag queens and transgender people where they do the ABCs of queerness. And, you go down a litany of things. Transformers' new show. They introduced a non-binary robot and a non-binary girl. They're doing all this stuff, and parents have no clue what's going on. And so my call to parents has been, shut the TV off. As somebody who worked in this industry that knows what these people are doing, I'm telling you, disconnect your kids from it. There are other safe places to connect your kids with good content, replace it with something. But these major networks do not have the best interest of your child or you. They're not entertainment. It's indoctrination.
No, and Nickelodeon has been weird for decades now, even going back to the 90s with Dan Schneider and all the foot fetish references from late 90s, early 2000s. It seems like they have a history of trying to sexualize kids.
That's exactly right. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, this goes all the way back to Dan Schneider, and the network knew about all the horrible claims against him and the sexualization of child actors. And they've had child actors come forward, and say these things to them. And they've done effectively nothing to stop it. And I think that says a lot, on its own when you look at the history of a company. And this is something that is a pattern at this point. When it's a pattern, this isn't a coincidence, not a mistake. It's not something that slipped through. You have to understand things like this go through dozens of adults. So dozens of adults all agreed this was a good idea. And this goes back to one of the core problems in our country as a whole and we've got to blame ourselves. The right allowed the left to take over all major cultural institutions. So when you look at ad agencies, you look at TV networks or film studios, they're run entirely by people who hate us, okay? They hate our values. They hate the foundations of our country. These are people who uniformly believe in this left-wing woke ideology. Not only do they believe it, but the majority of them don't have kids.
Yep.
So because they don't have kids, they want ownership over your kids. And that's what we're seeing play out here is there's this desperation on the left to ensure that they're able to claim the minds, souls, and votes of every child in America. And this is one of multiple avenues they're taking to do it. Because think about it. If you're an average kid in America right now, you grow up watching shows like this, okay, Transformers, Paw Patrol's new spinoff. You watch a Scooby-Doo movie where they talk to you about Tinder and toxic masculinity and Ruth Bader Ginsburg being amazing. And then you go to public school where your teacher's got a trans flag up and is telling you that you might be happier as a different identity and you can tell her secrets that she's not going to share with your parents and so on and so forth. And then you go to college where you're celebrated more for the same things and you're incentivized to be woke. What do you expect is going to happen? I have these parents come up to me at speaking events all the time and say, thank you so much for speaking out, blah, blah, blah. My child went to college and they came back a different person. Well, yeah, of course they did. You've got to look at what's going on in our country and proactively take steps to protect your child's heart and mind, even after they turn 18 and go to college. Because if you don't, you're setting up, sort of a value set system that says it's okay that culture's pushing you this direction and I'm allowing it to happen. You've got to be the great protector your kids need. And I see this as sort of a cold civil war. It's happening without guns, but these weapons are there. There is a war on children, but the weapons are different. They're not guns. They're propagandists. They're medical apparatus. They're all these other things.
Fifth generational warfare.
100%.
Yeah. So, all right, you're a dad. You got young kids. What are you doing? Because, I have 4 young kids. I don't want my kids watching this indoctrination, but I also don't want to be like the weird dad who won't let them watch a movie on Friday night and eat pizza. Like, I still want those moments with my kids. What do you let your kids watch, and what would you recommend to parents out there that are looking for non-woke alternatives?
That's a fantastic question. This be multi-pronged answer. Number one is, we do limit TV time, so our kids do spend a lot more time outside than your average kid does. Probably, we like being outside. We've got a little farm here in Franklin, and we like to do farm stuff, take care of the chickens. We're adding a cow,
Nice.
some dairy cows soon and stuff like that. So it's like we've got all these projects in a greenhouse and whatnot. But in terms of TV, you're right. Families should be able to sit down and be able to enjoy something. So here's a few of the things that we do. Our kids can all watch PragerU. PragerU has great content. They've got smart TV apps.
I love PragerU Kids. Guess or Mess is one of my 9-year-old's favorites. Guess or Mess is great. Yep. It's like a history show that you get the wrong answer and you get sardines dumped on you if you're a kid. It's awesome.
It's honestly kind of like some of the best parts of old Nickelodeon shows. Remember kids getting slimed and stuff like that, when we were younger? Kind of like that. But this is good-natured, wholesome family stuff. So PragerU Kids does a fantastic job. And for your older kids, like I have a 14-year-old, she watches all the PragerU content. She also watches a lot of the Daily Wire shows and stuff like that. But Daily Wire Kids is coming out soon, which is going to be a kids platform that's going to have, regular kids content, like competing with Disney and Nick and all those places. So I would, set a reminder on your calendar, 6 months from now to check in on that, because I think that's going to be a game changer for a lot of these companies like Disney and Nick, because they're finally going to have a legit competitor that produces high quality, broadcast level shows for kids. Another one I would say is, we do go to a lot of the classics. So even with our youngest child who's 7, you can go to some of these classic cartoons we watched as kids.
Yep.
And beyond those shows, if there's a new movie that one of our kids wants to see, we wait till it's out on, TV version. And my wife and I will watch it first and make sure that it's all good. And if it's all good and there's nothing weird in it, then we'll go ahead and we'll watch it with our kids. And with our older kids, it's like 14, it's a lot different because they're entering the world in 4 years as an adult. And so you want to prepare them for what they're going to face and everything. So there's less limits when you get into that age range where it's like, okay, we want you to be aware of how society is going to do these things and how they're going to try to propagandize you and do these things. So you've got to have those conversations so they understand what is upcoming. Even our 10-year-old, he understands what these companies and corporations are trying to do. And he picks up on it, even just, walking down the street and seeing that a company is using, trans pride colors on their logo.
Yep. I used to, when my daughter, who's 9 now, when she was like 2 or 3, we'd be walking through the grocery store and she'd be like, "Ooh, I want this." And I'd be like, no, they're tricking you because there's a cartoon character on it. So anything with a cartoon character on it isn't as good. So you could start that stuff really, really young so that way they can spot out that kind of propaganda indoctrination. Another app that we use is Yippee, which is Christian programming for young kids. But it's getting harder and
Angel
harder.
Studios.
Was that?
Angel Studios as well. Angel Studios has like Bible Man and some other stuff. So if you're Christian, like our family, it's a great resource. They've got great Christian kids cartoons. But Yippee is fantastic. You brought up grocery stores. You just reminded me of another wrinkle to this Paw Patrol story.
Oh, yes. I remember this. Go.
Yeah, they had snacks out in this grocery store chain that has 12,000 stores. And they caught an issue because a parent came and complained. They bought these Paw Patrol snacks, and there's a website on the back it tells kids to go to. Well, that website is a porn website, and it's still up right now. It still is a pornography website at this moment. The store let the company that makes the Paw Patrol snacks know. They've now recalled all of those snacks because every single package directs kids to a porn website.
Dude, it's like, how does that get past the censors? If it's not intentional, then somebody should be fired. Like, it has to be intentional.
It's insane. It's insane. And, without people like us who are actively, putting this stuff out there, I think yesterday my video about the Paw Patrol thing, got like, I think 3 or 4 million views in one day. Without that, though, think about the power of like X and Instagram and all social media and stuff. Nobody would be out there informing parents that this is going on.
No, it would just be some harebrained right-wing conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I mean, I do get called that every now and again, but
you and me both.
It's worth it.
Yeah, hey,
it's worth it.
It's like you get called a conspiracy theorist, and then 6 months later, you get told, "Hey, sorry about that. You were right."
At this point, I kind of see it as a compliment because at the beginning it was sort of offensive, because everything that I was telling people about COVID and everything else was based in fact. I was the one actually listening to and looking at the real science and practicing what science is supposed to be, which is you question things. You go into the data and you look for real problems or real answers or flaws in it. And instead they're calling us conspiracy theorists. Well, a couple of years later, we look like geniuses and they look like lunatics, and I think that says everything because, I think people like us, I don't need respect from the mainstream media, never will. I don't need respect from the far left and the Democratic Party, never will.
Oh, yeah.
I just want respect from the people who actually care about reality and sanity.
Yeah,
and
100%.
That's the vast majority.
And as far as the left goes, it's like your boos mean nothing because we've seen what makes you cheer.
Exactly.
Hey,
exactly.
Robbie, thank you so much for taking some time to talk to me about this today. Keep your kids away from the new Paw Patrol spinoff and be absolutely vigilant in what you're letting your kids watch these days. It's scary out there.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Let's do it again. I really appreciate it. Robbie Starbuck checking in to give us a heads up on the latest indoctrination efforts of the left. It is 11:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy's checking in with us next. It's WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand for the Dr. Gill Center in Franklin. I know so many people that deal with opioid addiction. It's a terrible reality of the world we live in 2023. And even worse, a lot of those people started their addiction by getting a pill prescribed to them from a doctor because of pain. Don't let that happen to you. If you're dealing with pain, find somebody that doesn't offer a pill solution. That's the Dr. Gill Center in Franklin. No pills necessary, no matter what kind of pain you're dealing with. Back, neck, knee, hip, elbow, all of it can be treated with no pills, no needles, and no downtime. At the Dr. Gill Center in Franklin, they've been helping people get back to a pain-free life just that way for over 30 years. And right now, the Dr. Gill Center wants to offer you a special offer if you're out there suffering with pain and looking for non-surgical solutions. So get this, $49 gets you all of your new patient exams, x-rays, and a complete review of findings. So less than $50 to find out what's causing your pain and get back to a pain-free life. Give the Dr. Gill Center in Franklin a call now and start that journey in becoming pain-free. The number, 615-882-4838. That's 615-882-4838. And tell them Chris Hand told you to call. Remember, don't take a pill. Call Dr. Gill. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's Chris Hand hanging out with Matt Murphy. Hello.
Just waving at Mac Morey there. Hey, Mac. How are you? Hey, Chris.
Hello.
I don't really care. Sorry.
What's up, man?
I'm in a mood.
Yeah, I feel like usually you come in and I try and cheer you up, and then other days you come in and you get me frustrated.
I'm moody.
And I'm frustrated now.
What are you frustrated about?
I'm just frustrated about Democrats.
Democrats.
Can you believe them?
You know, I've long had a saying, and I don't mean to coarsen up your portion of the broadcast day like I try to do from noon until 3, but damn, Democrats got it good, Hand. They got it so good.
They can do whatever they want.
do whatever they want.
They can do whatever they want.
And then you or I or a Republican or a conservatives, they misstep, one little misstep, and you're trash and you're destroyed for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes.
It's fair.
That's when you have an entire media industrial complex in your back pocket. That's what happens.
It's literally what it is. We were talking about Russell Brand off the air, and it seems like they had that documentary ready to go before the ink dried on the witness statements.
With actors? I understand doing what you need to do to protect the accuser, but none of these people came forward, as you've been saying. None of these people came forward until they were approached by the media, and 2 of them in this documentary were portrayed by actresses.
And there's currently no criminal charges against Russell Brand, but YouTube has demonetized him.
Because that's how they do, right? That's how they destroy you.
It's the craziest story.
My goodness gracious.
I don't know if he did it or not.
We'll talk about it.
I
don't know either.
If he did it, charge him.
The man is well documented as having gone through a lot of drug and addiction issues, sexual addiction issues. So I don't know what went on during that time, but you're right. Charge the man.
But he survived the Me Too era. Nobody came forward during Me Too. They only come forward when he starts talking against Big Pharma, Ukraine,
COVID-19,
government in
shenanigans.
General.
Yeah.
Weird. What a coincidence.
Odd.
Matt Murphy's in next. He's on noon till 3. Hang out with him. I'm Chris Hand. Thank you for hanging out with me. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.